I've already showed you the best add-ons and the best macros, but what about the best settings in this game? Many people I play with report that they have terrible FPS at points, and even I was struggling just a week ago because I forgot to adjust my game settings right. Yes, I love my 3 FPS game. I love the optimization of this game. Twitch.tv/Varian. These settings will easily increase your performance by around 20 FPS, depending on your PC of course, and I promise you, your game will look way better than it does right now. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Alright, we will begin in the first settings, which is the graphics. You will continuously see my FPS right down here. So currently we're at about 50 to 60, 65. And the further we get into the video, you will see a noticeable difference in FPS. My settings are currently completely randomized, pretty much, besides a few little things. I haven't adjusted my settings on this account yet, or on this character yet. So starting with monitor. This doesn't really matter. Pick the one you are currently using. Resolution, just set it on whatever your monitor's resolution is. And now this is the first big change we're going to do. We're going to put the render scale to 91%. This won't change your visual clarity whatsoever. You will not be noticing these 9% missing, but it will take off significant amounts of workload from your GPU, allowing it to work on other things and increase FPS at the end. So just turn this to 91. Or if you can really notice a difference, just put it around 90 to 91 to 96. That area is like a good sweet spot for it. I will just put it on now. And as you can see, you can't really tell the difference. It's still really clear. It's still really sharp. And when we move on to the commands that I'm going to show you at the end, you will not see these differences. So trust me on this one, put it on 91% and you're good to go. UI scale is preference. This just changes the size of your UI entirely. So if you want it smaller, just put it smaller. If you want it bigger, put it bigger. Doesn't affect the FPS whatsoever. VSync, always turned off. I only enable VSync if I really have massive amounts of screen tearing, which is pretty much never. Turning this on will reduce your performance by a good chunk, so you might lose like 5 to, at extreme moments, 10 FPS. If you don't have a lot of screen tearing, just turn it off. Low latency mode, I always put this on NVIDIA Reflex Plus Boost. It's just simply the best one. It reduces your input lag, and I also feel like it increases your FPS by a bit, but I might just be tripping on this one. Anti-aliasing, you should always put it on advanced so you can unlock the image-based techniques one, which you will put to CMAA2. This just puts a good balance between game performance and game quality. It doesn't really affect visuals whatsoever. As you can see, we already gained about 5 FPS with that change. Multi-sample techniques, just put it on 4x. That's completely fine. You can go higher or lower depending on your frame, so if you want a better visual clarity. But I find 4x to be a good sweet spot for it. Multi-sample alpha test, just turn it on, always enable. This helps out your anti-aliasing, work a bit faster, and thus reducing computer power needed. So just turn it on, helps your PC, helps your game, and increases your FPS by a bit. Camera FOV is kind of a preference, but kinda not. As you can see, if I turn this to 50, you will see that I am really zoomed in on my character right now. I didn't zoom in with my camera. I just don't have a lot of field of view anymore. This obviously means that you have no idea what's going on the sides or on the top or bottom of your screen. And if you want to see those things, which will get important at some point, while raiding, while doing a dungeon, anywhere in the world, honestly, even if you're just doing world quests, you will miss important things on your screen if you don't put this as high as possible. There is a massive difference, as you can see, in visual range. And one of those macros I will show you at the end of this video will also be able to increase your zoom out distance by a good bit, as I mentioned in the last video, I think. And combined with the maxed out camera FOV, there's literally no way you miss anything flying your way anymore. If you have trouble seeing in general, I would just recommend you to zoom in rather than reducing the FOV. So do yourself the favor, just keep it on max. All right, now graphics quality. This scale doesn't really matter. We will change around the settings manually. So shadow quality is adjustable to your PC and its performance, but a good rule of thumb is to never go above good. It doesn't really improve the visuals that much, but takes away so much power from your GPU. So if you can, let's see, there's my shadow. Look at my shadow right now. We can put it on ultra high, and as you can see, it it doesn't really affect it whatsoever. I honestly don't think it's worth it. I even think good looks better than ultra high, to be honest. So keep it at good or lower if you need the FPS. It will help out your FPS, so just keep it on good or lower. That's it. Now, this liquid detail setting. Let me go over to a pool of water real quick so I can show you how much of an FPS increase this setting is by changing it from good to low or something like that. Now, as you can see, we have around 60 to 65 FPS constantly. Or like 60 to 70, let's say, but more 60. So if we put this on low, it will reduce the water quality to back to its classic variant. As you can see, we are jumping to about 75 to 80 FPS now. So a good 10 to 15 FPS increase. But the dungeons where you really have a lot of bodies of water, this is an insane FPS boost. As you can see, we are jumping to 90 at some point. If you don't care about the water quality, you can just turn it off. Otherwise, you can just go to fair, which also looks good, to be honest. But it will, as I said, reduce your FPS by a good bit the higher you go. So keep that in mind. Particle density is one of the most important settings in this game. I always have this on ultra to be able to see projectiles and spells on the floor, or things being cast my way, especially frontals. This also doesn't affect FPS that much, so I always recommend you going ultra with this one. Now, SSAO, depth effects, and compute effects should always be completely turned off. I don't know why these exist, but these three settings soak so much of your FPS without you noticing that these don't really do that much to begin with. So turn all of them off and you're good to go. Outline mode, that doesn't really matter. You can disable it, you can keep it on. If you don't know, outline mode is the setting that makes certain quest mobs and items glow. They get outlined with a glowing white line so you can see them better and know which mob or which item to farm. That's all it does. It doesn't really affect your gameplay or your FPS, so this is just personal preference. If you don't want to run around like a headless chicken looking for a quest objective, just keep this on good. You're good to go. Texture resolution, similar to particle density, should always be turned high. As if you can see, if I turn this on, it will take a bit to load, but your game will look significantly worse. Just as I said, keep it on high and you won't lose that much FPS. And honestly, I would really sacrifice the FPS I get by turning this on low than playing on low. So yeah. Now, spell density should always be put on essential. What does spell density mean? That means that only important spells will be visible to you from now on. So big spells like Blizzard or Fire Breath from Evokers will still be visible, but smaller spells like the ice shards flying towards the target of another mage should no longer be visible to you, saving you a bit of FPS, especially in raid environments. Keep in mind that you won't notice anything from your end, so you will still be able to see all your abilities you use and cast, so nothing will change for you. But as I said, massive FPS boost, so make sure this is set to essential. Projected textures should always be enabled. If you turn this off, you might as well scream out loud to your group that you're trolling, as this setting will turn on these indicators on the floor, like the ones right before a puddle spawns or when a boss casts a frontal and stuff. All these indicators are essential to be able to play the game at any level, honestly, even if you do a delve. Also doesn't rip your FPS to shreds, so just keep this on. And moving on to view distance and environmental details, I will just keep these as 1. I always say that a 5 is a good middle ground. I never had to turn it up higher than that to see something in the distance, and if I did, it would just take up unnecessary space on my GPU, so keeping it as low as possible is always good. We can use the Isle of Quel'Danas as an example. Turning it to 1, you obviously won't be seeing the building anymore, but for whatever reason you can see the laser. Anyway, if we go higher bit by bit, at 5 you can see the building, which is, as I said, completely okay. You don't need to see anything more. You can go higher, but it just makes the building more clear, but doesn't really affect anything you do. So if you want to save FPS, just keep this on 5. You genuinely don't need to see what happens on the Isle of Quel'Danas from this point, so just keep it on 5 and you're good. Environmental detail is, as you can see, the details on the distance and on objects in the distance. As you can see, if I turn it to 1, you will only see 1 tree, and once I turn it to 2, you will see 2 trees. Jokes on you, on 3 you won't see. You will actually see 4 trees. You can go lower if you want to, if you don't care about these things, but I feel like it's just jarring if you fly across the map and things constantly load in. It just destroys the immersion for me. Ground clutter, I always turn it to 1. I genuinely hate these grass patches and stuff. There are dungeons where they genuinely pissed me the fuck off. Like in the Noko defensive back in the day. It just pissed me the hell off. So I just turned them off. It just reduces visual clarity for me. I sometimes miss quest objectives. I miss small mobs. I can't really target them because they are in my way. I don't know what they do. I just turned them off, and they save a little bit of FPS. So if you don't care about like massive patches of grass on the floor or like flowers like this, you can just keep it on 1. You won't miss anything. All right, now moving on to advanced. Triple buffering is always enabled for me, as it just makes the game look better and doesn't use up much power as well. So this is honestly one of those settings that you can turn off if you want to squeeze out like 1 or 2 FPS out of it. But I mean, it's just 1 or 2 FPS. Some people report that they have massive FPS issues when they turn it on. If you are one of those people, just turn it off. You will be completely fine. Texture filtering to 4x. That's completely enough. It just increases texture sharpness, and that's about it. Ray trace shadows. If you know anything about ray tracing, you should know that you should always keep these things off if you don't have like a NASA PC. This will literally just nuke your PC, take away like a solid 20 to 30 FPS, and we obviously don't want that. I think if I turned this on high right now, my game would crash. So I'm not gonna try and show you, but just trust me on this one. It's not worth it. You can turn this on if you like want to take screenshots and stuff, but in your everyday gaming, just turn this off. Resample quality, fidelity, FX, super resolution 1.0 is simply just the best. As it says, it's a cutting-edge, super optimized spatial upscaling technology that produces impressive image quality at fast frame rates. This is especially effective if you're not using a 100% render scale, and it just adjusts the quality of the upscale and downscale. It just helps you make the game look better, which is also why the image quality isn't as bad when you turn this to 91%. The resample quality is the reason why you can play at these render scales. VRS mode I always have disabled. Some say this helps with FPS a little bit, but in my opinion it just makes the game look like dog poop. So graphics API, I have it on auto detect. It always detects it on DirectX 12. You should always use DirectX 12 as it's the current graphics API. If for whatever reason you don't have access to DirectX 12 because your PC is too old or whatever, you should just put it on DirectX 11 because you just simply don't have any other option. Yeah, just put it on DirectX 12 or auto detect. It doesn't really matter. Now, physics interaction is... What the fuck is happening here? Okay, anyway. Now, physics interaction is a really small little detail in the immersion of the game, which if we just stand in front of these NPCs, they will start dodging us. If we ever stand in the path of NPCs, they will deliberately dodge our player character. This doesn't really affect your gameplay. You won't be body blocked or something if you turn it off. It just is an RP element to make the NPCs feel more alive, I think. Stand in front of this NPC. See how they dodge our player character. This obviously doesn't affect every player you can see. The NPCs will just start dodging you. Nothing big. I don't think it also affects your FPS that much, but if you want to squeeze out a little bit and don't care about these things like I do, you can just keep this off and you're good to go. Now, max foreground FPS and max background FPS should always be turned on, so you don't stress out your GPU as much. Now, what I mean by that is you should always put the number to whatever your refresh rate of your monitor is. So mine is 165, so I put it on 165. This doesn't mean that the game will try its best to reach those numbers. It will just mean that it will cap it at 165. If you ever have moments where you can reach above 165, for example, it won't go over it, saving your GPU's performance for something else. If you did not enable this, it would just go higher and higher unless it just physically can't anymore, using up the power and kind of working against itself and reducing the FPS at the end of the day, or reducing the power it could provide at the end of the day. So just keep it on your monitor's refresh rate and you're good to go. Max background FPS, you could just as well put it on 8 FPS. It doesn't really matter. I have it turned on, so when I tab out, as you can see, my game's refresh rate just drops to 8, allowing my GPU to work on other things, because I obviously am tabbed out right now, which means I would most likely need my GPU for something else. So, as I said, you won't need all these FPS in the game if you're tabbed out in the first place. So, the target FPS is the thing that your game will try to reach. You can put this to 60 FPS. as that's completely enough to play the game. You won't be needing more to play it efficiently. I would also recommend this to you if you have problems reaching your FPS. Doing this, it will reduce the graphics quality dynamically depending on the situation. So if it really is at like 58 FPS, it will change some things up and reduce your graphics quality a little bit to squeeze out these 2 FPS. This will just do it for you. Now, obviously, if you have 10 FPS and you put this to, I don't know, like 100, 105, it won't magically be able to reach those numbers, but it will have its target and it will try its best to reach those numbers. Now, resample sharpness, I always put on 0.2. The reason for that you will see later on when I show you the macros. And these 3 completely irrelevant. So you can play around with these to your liking. I have my contrast to 55. I could just increase it to 65, honestly. Makes the colors, makes the game feel more vibrant, just makes the game look a little bit better without sacrificing FPS, obviously. These settings don't increase or decrease your FPS by a single point. So play around with these, do it however you like. If you like the colors to pop out like a madman, you can put it on 100%, but I think 60 to 65 is a good sweet spot for it. Brightness and gamma to your liking, as I said. And compatibility settings, just turn all of these on. These just help out your PC and GPU run the game better. So it's as simple as that. Keep these all on. I don't actually know what these do, but I've read up online that these just simply help out your PC, and helping out your PC is always a good thing. So now, as a comparison, let's go back to where we started. At the beginning, we were at like 60 to 65 FPS, and now we are reaching numbers like 76 to 80 FPS. So we got around 20 FPS more. The amount of FPS you gain at the end of the day is obviously really dependent on your PC and the performance of it. So if you have a trash PC, you might just get 5 to 10 FPS out of it. And if you have a powerful PC, you could just as well get 30 FPS. It really depends on your PC at the end of the day. But as I said, if you need a little bit more FPS, you can always use these settings. I always recommend these settings to everyone, and there's no reason to not play with these settings. Now, moving on to important scripts and commands you can use to improve your visuals a little bit more. So first of all, it's the zoom script. The zoom script basically increases your zoom out distance of your camera. Right now, we're at 1.9, which is the default setting. And if we put in this command, which you will also find down in the description below, we will be able to increase it to 2.6. So as you can see, we can see a whole lot more. This is obviously personal preference. You can also adjust the number at the end to whatever you like. You can just put it to 2.3, which will then reduce it by a little bit. You just play around with it until you find your sweet spot, the number you like. I usually play it around 2.2, 2.3, as this is completely enough for me. I got it a little bit of a bigger screen, 27 inches, I think. So just play around with it, but this increases your visuals by a lot. You can see everything. You feel like the all-seer if you're in a dungeon, especially in raiding environments where, for example, as a healer, you need to see everyone in your vicinity to see who you can heal, to see who will be needing healing next, and whatever else reasons there might be. This will really help you out. Now, obviously, as I said in the video before, you won't be able to see your character as clearly as before. So you might have trouble seeing if you're currently in front of a frontal, or if you're about to get hit by a puddle or any projectile, really. But once you get used to this, you won't be ever going back to it, I promise. All right, now this command is kind of controversial for some. Some say it looks unnatural and bad, but I feel like it just makes the game pop out a little bit more. You will see a noticeable difference once I press enter right now. Currently it was on 0. Now I will put it back to 1, and you will see a clear difference in sharpness, especially in objects that are further away, like these buildings right now. Keep an eye on these and you will see a noticeable difference, as I said. All right, 3, 2, 1. Now, as you can see, it helped out a good bit to see things more clearly. So as I said, some say it looks bad because things in the distance shouldn't be this sharp, but I feel like it just makes the game look way better than before. This is a personal thing. You can turn it off if you want to. You can just not use it if you want to. You can always go back to the default setting by using this command, but it will reduce your sharpness, as I said. These two are the main commands that I would recommend you using if you want to see more and see more clearly. And that's about it. If I was able to squeeze out a good amount of FPS from your PC, let me know by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I got a whole lot more guides coming your way and you don't want to miss them, I promise. If you have any questions about these settings, join my Discord and me or someone else there might be able to help you out. Anyways, I wish you all a great rest of the day and I will see you either live on stream or in the next one.